Hi, okay, welcome to session 5. We're going to do our normal. We're going to start off with some of our previous learning. Now, I know that we did quite an intense session last time, but this is the key. This is what makes the difference, is regularly seeing it. So please give it 100%. If you're not sure how to answer anything, go back, look it up, see if you can help yourself get to those answers. And then when you're ready, hit play and we will look at the answers together. Okay, so here are the answers. And what I'd like you to do, please, is get it lined up so you can see it nicely. There we go. So hit the pause in a sec, just really thoroughly mark, look at the workings out, and then I am going to obviously talk us through it. I'm going to do question 6 first because I did something a little bit different with that question. It's horrible when you're not sure what you're supposed to be doing and it feels all uncomfortable. It's important that I do take you out your comfort zone though, and question 6 did do that, so I'm expecting that one to have possibly gone wrong, so I will go through that one first, but mark everything and then hit play when you're ready. Okay, so let's look at this question 6. Let's look at the actual question first of all. So let me just pull that back down. When I look at this question, my brain should be going through a process. So I'm looking at the diagram and I'm going to be saying to myself, okay, I can see it's a triangle. So I know that this is going to be 180 degrees. So that's the knowledge I've got. That's what I can use. And I know from all my other triangle questions that I've done, I take away the 2 angles I've been given to find the missing one. But I haven't been given this one here. There is no angle there. And that's where some of you could have got stuck. But this diagram is different to the other diagrams we see. So if we go back over to question 2, everything's how we like it. Yeah, I've got my 2 angles. I'll do my 180, take away what I know. I've got my X. Over here, no. This diagram has these 2 edges that have been crossed. They've got like a little dash on them. This doesn't have it. And none of the triangles that we have previously done had it. So this is a new thing that's come into this diagram. And those dashes are really, really important to solving the problem. So let's look at my solution now. We will we'll zoom in. There we go. My screen's being a little bit unresponsive today, so hopefully it won't spoil things. Okay, so what I've tried to do is highlight these 2 edges that are the same. All right, those dashes are telling me that the edges are the same. If one edge is 6 centimeters, then so is the other. If it's 4, the other is 4, and so on. That tells me I'm looking at an isosceles triangle. Now, in an isosceles triangle, 2 edges are the same, but so are 2 of the angles. And I've shown the 2 angles that are the same here in yellow. There's a really good way to find the 2 out of the 3, because you could easily pair up incorrectly. So the trick is to put your fingers on the dashes. So you've got your fingers on the dash and you run up and down the edges. If you go up, you go to 1 angle. If you go down, you go to 2 angles. Those are the 2 angles that are the same. Up to 1 that's different, down to 2 that's the same. So running your fingers up and down the lines with the dashes, brilliant. Okay, a really nice way of doing it. So how have I answered this? I've taken the 180 because it's a triangle and I took away what I knew. So I just went into that default method and it gave me 116. Now I know this isn't 116, all right? I can actually see just by looking at the angle that it's smaller than a right angle. So there's no way it can be 116. These two angles are the same, so I need to share what I've got left between them. So that's why I divided by 2 to give me x equals 58. Now, the GCSE exam loves an isosceles triangle. So this is something that we need to build into our skill set. So I will start bringing this in, not all the time, just gradually. It's going to pop up and we're going to see if we can remember that detail in the dash. All right. Now, if you did pretty well on questions 1 to 5, you just as well forward to the new bit of learning. If you do want a little talk through, I'm going to just quickly point out everything that I did. So I'm not literally redoing the questions. I'm just going to explain why we've got what we've got. Okay, so question 1, we had to work out the median and the range. So I did put it in order first, always do that. The range, biggest takes smallest. I've shown it for 1 mark, got my answer for 1 mark. And then I've just done the boom, 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 boom bit to find that number in the middle. So got me my 4. Here we've kind of discussed, to be fair, when we were talking about question 6. It's a triangle, 180, take away what you know, gives you the 48 for x. All right, question 3, let's get that over there. Question 3, I've got 2 E's, I've got 3 F's, so it's 2E plus 3F. For questions 2 and 3, I've got 2 different letters. So now I've got to think about grouping them. I've got to put them in their gangs. So I've got the Z's here, I've got 6 of them. Here I'm being directed to take 2 away. Remember that you must include that sign. And 6 take 2 is 4, so I've got 4Z. I'm then at positive 3 on the number line. I'm told to add another 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. So I've got plus 4W. What I did here was I just tried to show you what you could do if you didn't have highlighters and colors. Okay, so what I did is I circled the A gang and I added 2 to get 7 A's. And then I kind of did this kind of underlining thing, because if I did more circles, then they might all get mixed up together. So I did this underlining thing here. I'm at -3. Really important that I realize I am at -3. Okay. If I need to, I can draw this. I'm at -3. I'm here. And then as I travel along, it tells me, directs me, you must take away, you must go down 2 more places. So you can do that on a number line if you want to. That takes me to -5, hence the -5b on the end. All right, question 5 was some of our basic skills that we've been working on. So 2 3s are 6, add in all those zeros. Dividing by 10 means knock a 0 off. So I've got 120. I'm at -5, and minus another 4. I'm going down that number line to -9. -3, this time I'm being directed to go up 7 places, and I'm at I'm at 4. And then I did one of these again where we have to think about doing the problem in stages. So I did the timesing first, 7 3s are 21, adding in the zeros. And then I'm dividing by 10, so cross one of them off to get me that 210. All right, last one, question 5. I'm looking at the diagram. I can see it's a straight line. So I've got that half moon. The half moon tells me it's 180. Take away what I know, and I've got my answer, 57. Okay, so I'm hoping that this is now starting to come back in your memory. We'll be keeping it up. By the end of this course, you really will have this secure. All right, so let us start looking at today's learning. So we're going to be doing fraction of an amount. Okay, so let's get straight in and see what this looks like. So if I gave you 3/4 of 20, I'm hopefully giving you something that's not too tricky. You could almost problem solve it, but we want a method because we want to be able to answer any question that we've been given. So I'm going to tell you the method. I'm going to show you why it is what it is. Then we're going to see the example completed and we'll repeat and practice. So the method is divide by the bottom times by the top. All right. Now, why is it that? It's actually in the question. Those steps that we're going to take, they are actually already in the question. The line here in a fraction means divide. So that's linked to that part of the method. It says divide by the bottom. Well, the bottom of the fraction is 4. So there it is. It's literally sitting there telling us what to do if you know how to spot it. The next thing is the word of. Of in maths means times. So that word right there means that. And that's a really important thing to know about maths, because we get lots and lots of worded questions. So when you're reading through the story, if you see the word of, the chances are incredibly high you have to multiply, because of means times in maths. So this says times by the top. 3 is on top of the fraction. So all the method links to the numbers in the fraction. So let's actually see this now as an example working. So I want 3/4 of 20. 3/4 of 20 means I want a fraction of it. I don't want it all, I just want a bit of it. So I know that my answer is going to be smaller when I've finished. So I'm going to take my total 20, divide it by the bottom, so divide it by 4. 20 divided by 4 is 5. I then take my answer 5 and I times it by the top. Oops, there we go. 5 times 3 is 15. Job done. That's it. Divide by the bottom, times by the top. To be honest, the hardest thing about this is remembering that's your method. Okay, so let's see it without all the explanations. Let's just see an example flowing. So 5/8 of 16. So I take the 16, divide by the bottom, so divide by 8. That gives me 2. I then take the 2, times it by the top, and I've got 10 is my answer. Okay, so I want you to have a go. Let's clean this one up. I want you to have a go at 2/3 of 21. So pause and hit play when you're ready. Okay, so you should have taken your 21, divided it by 3 to get you 7. Take your 7, times it through by 2, and there it is, 14. And if you got that right, brilliant, well done. Okay, let's have a go at another one quickly. So we've got 3/10 of 50. Okay, off you go. And then the answer, 50, divide by 10, and you've got 5. And then 5 times by the top gives you 15 as an answer. Okay, brilliant. So what we're going to do is the normal little bit of practice. Just make sure you're absolutely fine with this. Okay, so there's some questions. I want you to hit that pause button, have a go, and hit play when you're ready. Okay, so I've done the answers for you. So just check the workings out if you've got any of them wrong. If it went well, then super duper. Okay, so we're going to move on now. We need to look at how we can make this harder. Okay, so here's an example of what I mean by making it harder. Let's give you the question 3/5 of 225. We start this process, 225 divided by 5, and now we can see why it's harder. I don't know how many 5s are in 225. I will need to work this out. Now, the reality is that you will have a calculator on 2 out of your 3 papers. And actually, when they're being more difficult with the maths, it's usually on a calculator paper, which means that you would just be able to throw this straight into a calculator to get an answer. But we want to be prepared. And we want to make sure that if it did come up on a non-calculator, we'd be able to do it. And there's a really important skill that I want us to be able to do anyway. So this gives us an opportunity to look and start developing that skill. And that is using the bus shelter. So many students groan the minute you say the word bus shelter. It's like, oh, okay, I do get it. I understand that. For some, it's really tricky. And one of the biggest problems is those times tables. That's what makes it hard. I promise you, it is the best method. It will work for any division question. And we want to be efficient in our maths. So if we can persevere and make a method easier to use, then we're going to be getting those benefits over and over and over. So I'm going to go through this really carefully so that you, start to feel successful. So to the side of this, I'm going to write 225. You can see I've spaced it out a little bit because I know I'm going to be carrying over and I need a bit of space to write my little number. I'm dividing by 5, so it sits on the outside. And this is the first thing that I would say. That 5 is blocked by this line of the bus shelter. This 5 never crosses in to this section. And that's what I see sometimes, okay? It's common, it's easily done, where you accidentally carry the 5 into the problem. So we must never do that. That 5 is absolutely trapped by this line and it can't get past, all right? We are going to divide each of these numbers in turn, working our way along as we go. So let's show you how that works, okay? I'm going to say, how many 5s can I get into 2? I've got 2. So the answer to that is none. So I can get none, 0, but I haven't used the 2. So I'm going to bring the 2 across to the next number and use it there. So that's when I write my little number. And now this is no longer 2, it's 22, okay? So I'm going to say, how many 5s can I get into 22? So I work this out and I get the answer 4. 4 5s are 20. So I've got 2 left over again. So the 2 that's left over joins the next number, which means that's no longer 5, it's 25. And I say, how many 5s can I get into 25? And the answer to that is 5 exactly. So 225 divided by 5 is 45. Fabulous. So I'm going to take my 45 and times it by the top. Okay. So there's a couple of ways of doing this. I would like to show you this because I think it's a really nice, efficient way of multiplying when you've got one digit. Okay, so I'm going to say I've got 40 and 5, 45. I'm going to times that by 3. I'm going to times that by 3. And this is why I really like this, because we're already really good at multiplying when there's zeros. We know to just ignore them. So we're going to do 4 times 3 is 12, add the 0. 5 times 3 is 15. So you just want to line those up properly. 5 add 0 is 5, 2 add 1 is 3. So there's my final answer, 135. So yes, it's definitely got harder. We are using more skills, which we are developing. So this part is going to feel a little bit harder. It's really worth the effort though, really worth the effort. All right, let's look at another question. We are going to do 2/3. Okay, so 2/3 of 123. Now, if you think you're ready to just have a go, please do. But if you are more of a, I quite like to see that again, watch that long division and just see it working, then just stay with me. I would really encourage you to pause as well and make some notes as you go, just kind of having that second time to rethink it through, write these things down. It does make a difference. All right, so we have got 123 to divide by the bottom, to divide by 3. I don't know the answer to that. So 1, 2, 3, in it goes. And then I start my process. How many 3s can I get into 1? None. So that is none, 0, and carry the 1 in front of the 2, make 12. So now I'm going to say, how many 3s can I get into 12? 3s into 12 go 4 exactly. So I don't need to carry anything. Then I move to the next number and I say, how many 3s can I get into 3? The answer to that is 1. So 41 is the answer. I then take the 41 and I times it by 2. Timesing by 2 is just doubling. Double 41 gives me 82. If your doubling isn't great, then just put them on top of each other. Okay. All right. This is your have a go. Now I want you to be brave and I want you to go for this. All right. You're going to do for me 3/4 of 252. Pause and hit play when you're ready. Okay, so let's write this out. 252 divided by 4. Obviously, I don't know that, so let's work it out. 4s into 2 don't go, carry the 2. 4s into 25. Now, obviously, I've got to work this out. The answer is 6. 4 6s are 24, which means I've got 1 left over, and 4s into 12 will go 3 exactly. So that is 63. I've now got 63 that I need to times by 3. So I'm going to go back to my 63, going to times both of those by 3. So 6 3s are 18, add the 0. 3 3s are 9. I can see that's 189. 189 is the answer. If you got that right, really, really well done. Okay, really well done. There you go, have another one. We'll give you 5/6 of 354. Okay, press pause, go for it, press play when you're ready. Okay, here we go. So 354 divided by 6. Okay, I know I don't know the answer to that. So into the bus shelter. 6s into 3. Nope, don't go. Carry the 3. 6s into 35. So you have to work that out, obviously. And the answer is 5. Okay, 6 5s are 30. That leaves me 5 left over. So over we go. Now I've made 54 and I've got to go through that process again of working out how many 6s are in 54. The answer to that is 9. So it equals 59. Now, if you go wrong at this stage, which is easy to do, isn't it? So easy to just miscalculate that times table. Obviously, if you've got that bit wrong, the next step's going to go wrong. But the good news is, because you've written down all of your steps, you will get one of the method marks because you've used the correct method. A mathematical error is different to a method error. You're not making an error with the method if you're dividing by the bottom and timesing by the top. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. If you make an error, yes, you're going to lose one of the 2 marks, okay, but you will get the other one. So I'm going to take my 59 and I've got to times it by 5. So 59 times that by 5 times that by 5. So 5 5s are 25, add the 0. 5 9s are 45. Can you see how I'm lining that up properly? 5, 9, 2. So the answer is 295. All right. So, as I said at the beginning, this is more commonly on a calculator paper, so you would use your calculator. But we want to be able to do bus shelter. This is a great opportunity to see when you might need bus shelter. So very, very good extension to this topic that we're doing right now. So what I want you to do is I want you to have a go. Oh, hang on a minute. Those are the other questions, aren't they? I must have it here. There you go. I want you to have a go and then just hit play when you are ready. Okay, here we go. So I've done all the workings out. So press pause and have a really good look. And like I say, if a calculation, this is my calculations, my working out, if any of that did go wrong, then yes, you're going to have thrown the answer out. However, if you've got all this written down, you will be getting marks. Okay, so it's not in vain. It's not a waste of time at all. When you're ready, hit play and we will look at the next thing. Okay, so we're moving on to percentage of an amount. Now, one of the things that I want to say is if you found the fraction of an amount quite heavy going, if you feel like you've done enough and you're getting tired, then it would be much, much more sensible to just stop now, have a break, pick it up in an hour, later today, tomorrow. Just make sure you are ready for this, because this is, whilst this is using the same method, which is why I've put them together, I want you to know that this one method does both. There is still a lot going on with this, lots of skills for us to be checking in with. So we need to feel ready for that. Okay, so that's just a little warning. If you feel like you need a rest, please take it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to teach you a method that works no matter what the question is, no matter how hard it gets. I am going to teach you a method that will work every single time. And it uses skills that we absolutely have to have. So even if we go into something where you're a bit like, oh, I'm not very good at this, you are getting an opportunity to practice it then, because you need to be good at all the skills we're going to see. All right. I am going to, at the very end, provide an alternative. The alternative does not work all the time, which is why I wouldn't normally teach it. But I do appreciate that if you are really, really struggling, it's better to have something that helps you with very basic questions than nothing at all. All right, so that's what you can expect from this session. So let's have a little look at what I'm talking about. So if I gave you the question, 20% of 62, okay, we first of all need to know how to rewrite this. All right, now the rewriting comes from understanding this symbol. Percent, the percent symbol is written using the number 1 and the 2 zeros. Okay, so the number 1 and the 2 zeros. So that 1 is written on a slant and the 2 zeros are thrown over the side. And that's because percent links to 100%, means out of 100. Out of 100 looks like this, yeah? If you got 47 out of 100 in a test, that's what it would look like, 47 out of 100. So out of 100 looks like this. So if you were given 20%, it would be 20 out of 100. So why am I telling you all this? Because I want you to look at the 20% and write that. I want that to become this automatic, the minute I see a percentage, boom, I write it like that. I write it as a fraction. That's really important, and I will show you why. As I move along the question, the next thing I see is the word of. Well, we know what of means. Of means times. So I'm rewriting the question. I need to drop the 62 to join it. Now, this is the magic, okay? If you know to write 20% as 20 over 100, and you rewrite the question like that, you have just got 1 mark. You haven't even done any maths yet, and you've done 1 mark. Boom. It's showing the examiner that you understand what the question is asking of you. And on all the mark schemes I've seen up to date, they give a mark for writing that. And that's why I really love this method. 1, it gets you a mark straight away. 2, it'll do any question no matter how hard it gets. All right, so let's see this. Now, if I do exactly what I did, okay, on our fraction of amount, that would tell me to do 62 divided by 100. Now, 62 divided by 100 is going to create a decimal, okay? It's going to do this. I don't want that. I don't want to suddenly go from working in whole numbers to working in decimals. That's just going to make my life harder. So I'm not going to do the division first. I'm going to do the multiplication first. Okay, and lots of people say, oh, can you do that? Absolutely, you can. You can divide by the bottom times by the top, or you can times by the top, divide by the bottom. And for percentage questions, it's way, way easier to times by the top first. So let's have a little look at this. 20 times 62. Okay. Well, I know to ignore the 0, and I've got 2 times 62. If I'm good at my doubling, I will just double it. If not, I could stick it on top of each other. That's another easy way of doing 2s. 2 plus 2 is 4, 6 plus 6 is 12. So I've got 124. I've got to remember to add the 0. Remember, I ignored the 0, so I've got to add it back on. Whoops. And then I do my 1,240 divide by 100. Now I can't cross off, can I? All right, I've got 1 0, so I can cross off 1 0, but then I've got 1 0 and I don't have another 0 to match to it. So I am going to be changing slightly what I'm doing here to make this work. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to count the zeros still. I'm going to kind of do it in a bucket form. I'm going to go 1, 2. It's like they're sat in little buckets now. That's what I call it. So I'm going to go 1, 2. So I've counted my zeros. And then I'm literally going to do the same. 1, 2. So my invisible decimal point, let's do that so it doesn't do that. My invisible decimal point that's on the end of my integer is now moved in 2 places, and it is here. So my final answer is 12.4. Now you might put the 0 in. If you do, it doesn't matter, you're going to get full marks. But technically, I don't need that 0 there anymore. It's not giving me any value. So I won't show it. But if you did, it would be fine. So as you can see, there is a lot happening here. It's a great, great topic for practicing our multiplying and our dividing by 100. The nice thing about that last step is it's the same every time, because it's always divide by 100. It's always boom, boom, into. All right. Okay, that was a lot. We're going to do another one. You may very well want to watch just to see this again, all right, because that's a lot to have just taken in. So let's do 12% of 84. So this one's a little bit harder. I'm going to rewrite the question. I've got 12 over 100 times 84. And that has just guaranteed me a mark. You must write that down. Then I'm going to show the maths I need to do. I need to do 12 times 84 first. And now I've hit another skill that I need. Okay. For this, I need to be able to long multiply. I can't just do 10 times 84, 2 times 84, although that could work out. It's not worth it. We need a one go-to method. Now, what a lot of students learn is this column method. And if you're good at that column method, you will use it. However, I see the majority of students not good at this method. They go to it because it's what they remember from primary school. And then they nearly always get it wrong every time. So I want us to use the Chinese method. The Chinese method feels very complicated to start off with. But once practiced, it's so easy. And I guarantee from my experience of teaching hundreds of students that they all do incredibly well once this method is clicked into place. So don't look at it and think, oh my God, this is so complicated, I can't do it. Just look at it and go, right, I know that this is going to work once I've understood it, so I've got to stick with it. All right. So I'm sure you've seen this before. I am going to teach it like you haven't, just in case. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a square. Okay. I'm then going to split it so that it becomes a 3x3 grid. And the way that I do this is I start off by looking at this edge here. I want to come in a little bit. And then I will look at this edge and I want to come in a little bit. So I've come in a little bit and drawn a line. I've come in a little bit and I've drawn a line. I then do the same with the top and the bottom. So I'm going to look at the top, come down a little bit and draw in a line. Going to look at the bottom, come up, draw in a line. They don't have to be perfect squares. I've tried to not draw perfect squares to show you. They do need to be as square-like as we can get them. If I had done this, that really isn't a grid that would work. Okay, some of the squares are too small. Some of them look like rectangles. That wouldn't work. So we still want to try and make them as square as possible, but we don't want to stress about making them absolutely perfect. The next step is splitting the squares into triangles. So what I've got is a square. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going into the top corner there, coming right through the middle and hitting the bottom corner. What's really important is that I don't start here and then go through the bottom in the middle. If I do that, I'm creating a grid I can't use. So as I do this, I say to myself, corner, corner, corner. All right, all the time I'm saying corner. I'm going to say it out loud, it'll drive you crazy, but it makes me know what I'm doing. So I'm in this top corner here and I'm going through the corner and out. You'll see I kind of work backwards through the diagram because later on I add backwards through the diagram. So here, corner to corner to corner, 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 corner. Okay, so everything is split. My lines aren't perfectly straight because my squares aren't perfectly square. All of that is fine. Okay, that is the grid I draw every single time I have a big times table question to do like this. Okay, I'm then going to put 12 along the top and 84 down the side. Now look where I've positioned them. They're slap bang in the middle, okay, of the square. And they kind of butt, if you like, they kind of push into that top corner. All right, so that's the position. And then I just start multiplying in. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 8 into this grid here. 16. Into this square, I've got 4 and the 2 right at the top there. 2 and 4 is 8. I put 8 in the bottom and 0 in the top. That's because I've got like tens and units going on in these triangles. All right, next one I'm going to do is this one here, which is 1 and 8. 1 times 8 is 8. Okay, and last but not least, into this box, I've got the 1 and the 4. And 1 times 4 is 4. I then add in columns. So I've got 8. Hang on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour them all in first. I'm using the colour because I really want it to stand out as to what I'm adding. So it's really clear for you to see what I'm doing. So in this blue, I call it a column, but obviously it's a bit of a diagonal really, isn't it? In this one here, I've just got the number 8. So I'm going to write 8 in the bottom here. Okay. The next one along, the green one, I've got 6 plus 4, which is 10. Now, I do not write 10. I can only write 1 digit. Okay, so just like column addition, I am going to put down the last, I'm going to put down 0 and carry the 1. I then look at what I've got going on here. 1 plus 8 is 9, plus that 1 is 10. So I've got 10 again. So I'm going to put down the 0 and carry the 1. I then look at what I've got going on here. I did have nothing, but actually now I've got 1. So I've got a total of 1, which I will put here. So this gives me 1008. Now that might seem like a lot of work to find percentage of an amount, and you know it is. But once we're really good at that Chinese method, you literally just boom, you bang it out really, really quickly. Obviously, you take a little bit of time over finding those times tables, but the whole process itself is something that's an easy go-to. All right, finishing it off, we've got to take our answer and do the bit we haven't done, which is divide by the bottom. So we're going to divide by 100. Okay, I've got my 2 zeros. So in by 2, the point is going there. So my final answer is 10.08. Done. Okay, so a lot going on. I do appreciate that. All right, so we're going to do another one. I actually want you to be really, really brave and go for this. So I want you to pause, have a go and hit play. If you get stuck and you need to watch, then watch. That's not a problem. But just see how far you can get with this question here. Okay, 15% of 112. So 15% of 112. Pause and press play when you are ready. Okay, so 15 times by, oh no, gosh, look what I nearly forgot to do. I nearly forgot to rewrite the question. Forgetting to rewrite the question is going to cost me a mark. All right, if you have done that, all right, you can see it's really, really easy to do. 1 mark. We mustn't forget to do that, okay? All right, let's do it. 15 times 112. I'm going to use my Chinese grid. So I want to make it big enough to write in. I want to make them as square as I can. Corner to corner, corner, corner. You can see I just dropped the line. Corner, 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 corner. Okay, this time I've got my 15 and I got 1, 1 and 2. Multiplying in, I've got 5 times 1, which is 5. And then I've got 1 times 1 into this one, which is 1. All right, it doesn't matter what order you do them in, you've got to fill them all up. 5 times 1 is 5. And then 5 times 2 down the bottom is 10. I'm looking at this one now. Another 1 times 1, which is 1. And 1 times 2, which is 2. So actually some really nice, easy times tables there. I'll pop the colour in just because I know it makes it easier to see. Okay. And we've got this one here. And then we'll add them up. So although there is 0 here, it is still part of my answer. It's still really important that I drop it out. Okay, so 0 is coming out the bottom. I've got 5 plus 1 is 6, 7, 8 in this one. Next one, I've got 5 plus 1 is 6. I've just got 1 in the next one. I've got nothing. I could show it or not. The 0 at the beginning of that number means nothing. It adds no value whatsoever. The 0 at the end is really important. So that's giving me 1680, which I take and divide by the bottom, divide by 100. Same process every time, into. I have got 16.8. And that is the answer. If you put the 0 down, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It doesn't need to be there. But that is the answer. Okay. So I hope the Chinese method went well. If you think that's something that you need to practice, you can easily do that by just writing yourself in random questions, literally make them up. Just 54 times 73. I've given that no thought. I've just come up with a sum. And then you can mark it on a calculator. This is a skill that is used all over our non-calculator paper, all over it. And it's a standalone question. So you will actually be given something like that to do anyway. So this is a really, really important skill that we need to make sure that we've got. So if you know that this is an area you want to have some practice time in, take that time, make this part of our session. Okay. Learn your percentages of amount, learn this. Don't do the next session until maybe you've created your own session of Chinese method. All right. Okay, so here we go. You're going to do 20% of 38. All right. I want you to pause, have a go, press play when you're ready. Okay, so we're going to rewrite the question for that 1 mark. Okay, 1 mark, happy days. Now I've got to do 20 times 38. Now, because this has got that 0, I'm going to choose to not do Chinese method. I'm going to ignore the 0, do 2 times 38. So I've got 38 and 38, that's 16 carry 1, that's 76. So I've got 76. Now add that 0 on and I'm done. You can do it in a Chinese method. I know I do have some students that literally just use Chinese method for everything. It's their go-to because then they don't have to think about anything else. It's just this one thing that works. Okay, 760 divided by 100. So into, I've got 7.6. If you got that right, that's absolutely fantastic. Well done. Okay. I think that's probably enough examples. So what I want you to do is I want you to have a go. So we've got some questions here for you. You might want to do them one at a time, press play to view the answers and then rewind. Entirely up to you. Okay. But I'd like you to have a go at those questions. I'm going to do the answers and then I'm going to show anybody that needs it the alternative method. All right, but please don't watch it. If you think, no, with practice, I am going to be absolutely fine with this, don't be looking at anything else. You don't need loads of different things to remember. You need one thing that works brilliantly. This is the one thing that works brilliantly. All right, I promise you. What I'm going to show as an alternative does just the very basics. Okay. So here are the answers. All right. If that's you done for this session, then well done. It's been a long, quite intense bit of learning. There's a lot happening in what we've done today. So really, really well done. And I will see you in the next session. If you're staying with me to look at the alternative, let's do that quickly now. So the alternative method is going to do questions like 10%, 5%, 20%, and that kind of thing. So kind of multiples of 5 and 10. Okay. So if I had to find 10% of, say, 60, 10% can be found by dividing by 10. Okay, so 10% can be found by dividing by 10. 5%, you don't divide by 5. 20%, you don't divide by 20. It's only the 10 that links this way. So what I can do is I can say, and I'm going to write it like this. I've got 60. I want 10%. So I'm going to do 60 divided by 10, which equals 6. And that's the answer. But why did I choose to write it like that? The reason that I chose to write it like that is because if I'd given myself the question 15% of 60, I would still start the exact same way. So the alternative method is all about 10%. You find 10% and then you manipulate it. So if 10% is 6, 5% is going to be half that. Half of 10% is 5%. Half of 6, which is my answer here, is 3. That tells me that 15% is equal to 6 plus 3, which is 9. Okay, so I hope that makes sense what we're doing there. So let's just try a couple of others so that you can see what this looks like. So if I said I wanted 20% of, I don't know, let's say 120. Okay, I'm going to put my 120 in. I'm going to find my 10%, which means I've got to do 120, divide it by 10, 1 0, cross it off. I've got 12. Okay, then 20% is going to be 2 lots of 10. It's going to be double. So that would be 24. And then that would be your answer. You don't have to do any more for that. Another way is you could say, right, 10% is equal to 12. Another 10% would be another 12. That adds up to 20. And that adds up to 24. It's kind of finding the way that you want to set it out, all right, that will work for you. So that is the alternative. The alternative is to find 10. You may find it a little bit trickier when I give questions. Let's say I'm going to give you 20% of 63. Okay, I'm going to have to do 63 divided by 10. So there's no zeros to cross out. So I count 1, I count 1. That gives me 6.3. Okay, so 10% is 6.3. Another 10% is another 6.3. Together, that gives me 20%. And then I must remember to add backwards. So 3 plus 3 is 6, put the point in, and 6 plus 6 is 12. And there's my answer. So if you have been really, really struggling with the other method, then this could be something that you apply. And as we practice more percentages in those sort of recaps, then this is what you could be doing. But please remember, you will hit a point where it doesn't really work very well. And my advice is to really persevere, really go for that original method, and see over time how you actually feel about it. Okay, so I hope that was useful, and I will see you next session.